Did you just get rejected from your dream undergraduate college? Don't worry, so did I. Let's talk about it today on this episode of Navigating Academia. What's up, everybody? My name is Dr. J. Phoenix Singh, and I want to warmly welcome you to this episode of Navigating Academia, your leading source for guidance on how to advance your career in academia. Now, as always, I appreciate the love, so please do take a second to like and share this video with your friends, with your colleagues. Maybe you have students or kids. Subscribe to our channel and definitely hit that bell so anytime we have new content, you get a notification. Also, per usual, we warmly welcome your comments, and you can follow us on these social media accounts below. So this can be a really tough time of the year. College decision letters are finally arriving, and for literally tens of thousands of students, this is something where high school has been not only a drag, but it's been something where they have been so dedicated to their academics that this represents the culmination of an absurd amount of stress, work, and dedication. So when these letters are coming in, it's very difficult to not take them as essentially a judgment of whether or not they're living their life as they have been has been worth it for all of these years, putting in so much effort. Now, because of this, it can be a really high stress situation, understandably. And of course, if you don't get into whatever your dream school or schools are, it's very easy to feel like a total and abject failure, to feel incredibly angry, and to almost have a sense of bereavement for the future that we believe, was supposed to be. This is how life was supposed to be. This is the way life is supposed to work. I put in the work, I put in the effort, and, I forgo having maybe a lot of more fun than I did have, and then I get the payoff. And I didn't get the payoff. What the hell? Right? That is really how it can feel. And I want you to know that I know exactly how you feel because the same thing happened to me. So often, guys, we feel like if we have, a certain set of things, maybe 7 things, that we're going to be fine in our college application journey. We say, I've got the grades, got a ridiculous GPA, I've got the coursework, I took all the AP classes and the honors classes, I had the extracurriculars and I was a member of the honor societies, or maybe I was the president or the founder of such and such a club, or I volunteered every weekend at such and such a nursing home. I had the test scores on the SAT and the ACT. I took my SAT 2 subject tests. I did my official school visit. I tried to get to know people who had gone there in the past to help write me their letters of recommendation. I crushed my interview. It seemed to go so well. My essay, I pored over it for so long. I got guidance from so many of my mentors. My guidance counselor said that I was a perfect fit, and I didn't get in. What the heck is going on here? I know that it may seem like I'm quite happy delivering this video, but I'm not happy. I'm just commiserating with how much it sucks. Let me tell you right now, because I have been there. So let me tell you really quickly my story. To be frank, I'm way more interested in your story, so please do comment and let me know about it in the down below in the comment section. I remember, so I went to high school in Northern Virginia. We had one of the best public schools in the country. It was a really nice area. And solid teachers and great administrators, etc. It was really cutthroat, like deeply cutthroat, and everybody was posturing to be able to do better than everybody else. We had a whole bunch of valedictorians, of which I was one. I was on, I got great grades. I had over a 4.0 GPA. I had everything going for me. High school was not fun. High school was literally just me busting my butt. And it sucked. What else can I say? High school is not fun. If high school is the best time of your life, you did life wrong. I'm sorry. But it blows. And it gets even worse when you essentially busted your butt and then didn't get the payoff. So I had a list of schools I want to go to. I applied to about 15 places. I did the Common App and these things. Did fine on my test scores, did fine on, I was within the range on everything. And then I had a few things that were like really big in terms of, my background that I thought was going to push me over the limit. To be frank, I reread my undergrad college application essay a few months ago, and to be honest with you, I thought this thing was pretty amazing, and then I reread it. I'm surprised I got into any school. My college application essay was all about how, so I used to be like a drama instructor, like an acting instructor, like an assistant instructor for this drama camp, and let me tell you, there was a kid who had an asthma attack the one time at one of the shows, and I went around trying to find the mother who had the EpiPen. And, as I went around, I said, excuse me, are you, this girl's mother? Are you this girl's mother? Everybody, all the parents kept shushing me, be quiet, we're trying to listen, da-da-da. And in the meanwhile, I seem like I'm the only person who cares that there's a kid, who can't breathe backstage and this kind of stuff. And this is what my personal statement was about. But the way that I framed it was really bad. I framed it as nobody cares about helping these kids. I want to be a child psychologist so that I can help children, da-da-da. And when I reread, it was so bad. I used the term antediluvian. Don't use the right-click thesaurus finder or your SAT prep words in your college application essay. Don't say stuff like that, right? It's just not worth it. But I did, and it ended up being something where I definitely got rejected from the overwhelming majority of those schools. But let me tell you, I did one of these road trips with my parents, and we went to Brown, the Ivy League school in the United States. And I loved Brown. It was, super, people were so friendly, and we went in the fall, and the leaves are changing, and they got the quads, and, Providence, the city that it's in, was so nice and really indie like I am, and I just thought this was great. I really wanted to go to Brown. And in your head, you kind of build up this future where you're going to the school, and you imagine what it's going to be like to open your acceptance letter, and to move in, and you saw the dorms when you go on the tour, and I'm gonna live in one of those dorms, and you looked into all the extracurriculars, and you say, I want to join this club and that club, and I want this to be my major, and for Brown at the time, I don't know how it is anymore, they let you design your own major, and for me, I thought this was the greatest thing, because all I wanted to do was work with kids, and the fact that you could make like a child psychology, like a developmental psychology major, cobbling together different courses and opportunities to work. There was a children's hospital that I could have interned at. I just thought this was the greatest thing. And I still remember the day, so I applied early decision, and which is the option you have in the States to be able to, you apply earlier, you hear back from usually one university earlier than everybody else. And I remember what I did. I printed the thing out, the decision letter out, and it was nighttime, and I go for a walk in my neighborhood, and my heart's beating a million miles a minute. And I, prayed and prayed on it, and, I walk around this corner. I can still take you to the exact place. Walking around this corner, I sit down or whatever, and, I open, the thing or whatever, and it's just oh, yeah, It didn't straight out reject me, but it, deferred me to making a final decision until, the following year. And so they would tell me in the spring, and I was so angry. I was really, really pissed off that they didn't straight up accept me in this kind of stuff, as anybody would be. It's one of these things where when you're a teenager, being a teenager sucks, and one of the things that's really tough, two things, is number one, there's this thing called the imaginary audience, which is this psychological effect where we essentially think that that people are looking at us, everybody's looking at us. Have you ever walked down the hall in high school and you smile at somebody and the other person looks at you in the eyes and they don't smile back? And you're kind of what a dick, right? Even though the other person probably wasn't thinking anything negative about you, you kind of assume it. This is the imaginary audience. And then you got the personal fable. Personal fable is things like other people text and drive and get in accidents, but not me. Other people have unprotected sex and get pregnant, but not me. And the reason why is that that's not my life story. Nothing bad's going to happen to me. That happens to other people. It doesn't happen to me. This is a very natural consequence of certain brain developments happening in your frontal lobe. You ever want to sound fancy at a party? The specific brain area is the dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. Say that at a party, either people will never want to speak to you again, or they'll think it's super cool. So depending on which it is, take the risk. But what happens is that it's a natural consequence of this brain development, but it really sucks because when it comes to college stuff, you've probably told a lot of people where you want to go. And if you get rejected, it's almost like now I got to tell everybody I didn't get in because they know that people are going to get those letters back. And even if you don't tell them, then they're going to assume it because you haven't kind of come into school ranting and raving and wearing a brown shirt and this kind of stuff. And that's the big thing, isn't it? Like in high school, people get from Amazon or whatever, like the brown shirt or whatever the shirt is or the sweatshirt is from wherever they're going and just, proudly parade it around school and this kind of stuff. Which really sucks if you didn't get in. And especially if somebody else from your school got in and you feel super bitter and you see them wearing the shirt and you want to be like, take the shirt off, you're making me feel so bad. It really can suck. So what happens is that, you get rejected, you got bereavement, you got anger, you got all these sorts of ththings that are going on. What do you kind of do with that? I had no idea what to do. And I wanted to do something constructive, and so what I did, first of all, I got lucky that I got into some of the other schools. I got rejected from every Ivy League school, which is super ironic, because then I ended up becoming a faculty member at one of them, at University of Pennsylvania, as a clinical associate. And then same thing in terms of, after that I went to, Oxford, and then became a faculty member at Cambridge. So I ended up in that world of, elite academia, but I sure as heck didn't start at it. And so it was one of these situations. It was really rough on me. I still went to a great school in the Boston area called Tufts University. It's a great school, really good. Definitely top tier school, but it wasn't my dream place. It was not. It was not my dream place to be able to go. So I'm sure I'm going to end up on the Wikipedia page for Tufts being this guy is an ungrateful Jumbo. Jumbo was the name of our mascot. It's literally a giant white elephant that got hit by and killed by a train. Google it. It's a thing. So what I did, which actually turned out surprisingly well, is that I had a lot of contact with this guy at Brown, and I won't mention his name, but he's a very nice guy, and he was one of the admissions officers. I think he's the head admissions officer or something. He's really high up there now. He's still there. And was the nicest guy, and I knew that he was going to be getting a lot of hate mail and all, and I still wanted to go to Brown. And I didn't end up transferring there because I had a good first year at Tufts. But, at first that was the game plan, and I'm just I don't want to burn the bridge. There's a great saying, which is that never burn bridges, but what beautiful fires they make. Which sometimes it can feel really good to just stick it to somebody who you feel who's wronged you. That doesn't really do anything. It's not a good idea. It's not a mature thing to do. So anyway, I sent this letter to this guy telling him that my intention was to transfer and that I knew that he was probably going to get a lot of hate mail, but I wanted to let him know that I appreciated the time that he'd spend in corresponding with me, because every month or 2 months I would send him something. When I officially applied, I let him know. And when I deferred, I let him know. And then when I officially got rejected from Brown, which was just heart-shattering to me, I decided that I would write him that letter. So I wrote it to him, and this was the response that I got, which was really, really nice. So it said, Jay, that's probably the nicest denial response I've ever received from a student. Most of the emails that I'm getting right now are pretty harsh, so it's nice to see someone with a broader perspective. Years ago, when I was your age, I was waitlisted at my father's alma mater, and the experience was really tough for my parents. They spent an entire weekend processing, quote, our loss. It was a weekend of many firsts for me, including the first time I saw my father cry and the first time I saw either of my parents get drunk. I felt horribly guilty about it for years afterwards. Oddly, I'm now an admission officer myself, and it's my job to inflict the same kind of stress on others that was visited upon me years ago. That might make an interesting psychological study. I feel bad sometimes knowing that the decisions I make will hurt people's feelings, but over time I've accepted the fact that not getting what you want when you want it is just a fact of life, and I think you put it well, so I put it well, when you say that loss can also teach us more about having empathy for others if we're ready to learn that kind of lesson. Often I feel my own bad experiences with college admission have helped me have empathy for kids who put so much of their sense of self-worth into this process. It makes me happy to know that you have so many great offers, Jay. I also admire your resolve regarding the future. Best of luck in the coming year. Perhaps you and I will meet elsewhere down the line. Super nice. right? And he gave me a PS, which is "You're super," it's something like, "You're awesome, Jay," or something like that. It was really, really nice. And I stayed in touch with him over the next year, and I stayed in touch even when I let him know that I wasn't going to transfer. It's just one of these situations where sometimes, a little bit goes a lot, and you can imagine that all the hate mail and all these guys must be getting. Just a nice little 2-paragraph message, if you've had somebody who has spent time communicating with you, can make a really big difference. Personally, I think it's the right thing to do. Doesn't mean you have to do it. But that's what I did. And let me tell you, went against everything in my being. I was so mad and I was so frustrated. And I did believe that in the future would help me. I didn't think I'd be making this video back then, obviously. But it's one of these things. I didn't realize that it would be really helpful to me down the line, having had students of my own go through this very painful experience of not getting into grad school, for example, or having other really major failures in their academic careers. So it can be really rough. That's what I did. That's how I handled it. After Tufts, I ended up going to Oxford and doing my first doctorate, then doing a postdoctoral fellowship at the #1 forensic psych university in the States for postdocs. And then I, ended up getting a second doctorate, running a government agency in terms of their research unit. I became a tenured full professor in Norway. I was a Fulbright in Israel, wrote a bunch of books and articles and this kind of stuff. And now I have the deep pleasure of being able to talk to you. And let me tell you, what would have happened if I didn't get rejected from my dream school? None of it. I guarantee you it wouldn't have happened. And the worst thing anybody can tell you at a moment like this is it's going to get better, or don't worry about it, or you're going to be fine. Because let me tell you, it doesn't feel that way. I can tell you that in 10 years you're going to look back and everything will be fine, but that doesn't really help you right now, does it? So I'm not going to say that to you. What I am going to say is that it sucks. And I'm really sorry. I'm really sorry you have to go through it, because it is devastating. And I do like to feel like it helps that you can know that somebody else has been through it before. I don't think it makes it any easier, though. I do thank you for watching this video, and I do deeply want to hear from you. Did you just get rejected from, your dream college? Or if you're out of college, did this happen to you? And if it did, how did you deal with it? Obviously, I want to hear your stories. As always, if there's a topic you want us to tackle here on Navigating Academia, let me know in the comments below. This is what we're here for. Right? Don't forget to like and share this video with your colleagues, with your friends. If you have students, especially if you're a parent with your kids, subscribe to our channel, hit that bell, and follow us on social media. And if you're interested in actually talking about your situation and the best way to handle it, if you're feeling a little bit frustrated, you want some coaching, or just some professional mentoring, please do feel free to set up a 1-hour free consultation call with me via the website below, and let's chat about it. So, I want you all to have a great day. It's probably under rough circumstances that you're watching this, so I know this is going to be hard. I find diet and exercise to be really healthy for these things, so make sure you're taking care of yourself. Make sure you're not doing anything silly, like hurting yourself or anything like this. If you ever feel like that, I want you to make sure that you reach out to someone, right? Mental health care is a beautiful thing. Right? Going to see a therapist is a beautiful thing. It's something that deserves no stigma. There's nothing wrong with you for going to see a therapist, right? It is an admission of tremendous strength of character to be able to say that you want to improve your life and improve yourself. It is not something bad. It's not something weird. You don't have to go and tell anybody else. You're doing it for yourself because you love yourself and you care about yourself. And so make sure that if you do ever feel like that you reach out to somebody, okay? And take chances. Get out there and take chances. It's absolutely critical. Life is short. It really is. And you got to go after the things you want, even if they do result in failures. Because trust me, most of the time they result in failures. But you're going to miss every single swing that you don't take. So I can tell you right now that you're doing the right thing just to have applied to this university, which was your dream. Probably some people told you that, you weren't going to get in from the get-go, but you still had, the strength of character to be able to try it anyway. So please accept that I have a lot of respect for you for having gone out there and done it. Okay. And per usual, guys, don't just be yourself, be your best self. Take responsibility for your lives. This is something where having that sense of responsibility, not because anybody else wants you to, but because you want to live your best life, is going to make all the difference in the world. Thank you for your time, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Thank you so much for stopping by, everyone. It's a pleasure to have you here as always. If you enjoyed this video and you'd like to see more in this series on navigating academia, please click on one of these links over here to be able to view more original content. I hope to see you there.